Why do you say that, Father? You aren't afraid, are you?
No, but I respect some of the superstitions of others. Often they are founded in fact.
Broadcasting live from our Sanctum Sanctorum in Venice, California. This is a Sixth Sense Society. I'm your host, Krista, here with our producer, Michael. And today we welcome back with a lot of excitement, Holly Lindblom. Those of you who watch the show know that she's been on a couple times, and she is a traveler to historical haunted places where she takes beautiful photographs and does some paranormal investigation. And she's been doing this for decades and has some just wonderful stories and photographs. So we're really happy to have her on the show today. And we're really excited about some of the locations we're going to be covering. But before we get started, Michael has a few announcements.
Hi, everybody, and thanks so much for supporting our show. We really appreciate all the fans, and I want to give a special shout-out to our good friend Darian, who is live chatting with us during the show, and we're going to be talking more about him on our last show this month for Samhain. There's a little something that we want to thank him for, but we thought that would be a more appropriate show to do it with, but he does know that we appreciate it. You can get all the information on our show, our website, sixthsensesociety.com, SIXTH, all spelled out. We've got some great guests coming up. Next week, we have a show on haunted dolls, and boy, do we have some stories about that, with our friends Mystic Mitten Paranormal from Detroit. So join us for that if you're really into the haunted dolls. And, they're definitely dolls can be creepy. There's no doubt about it. And we have one that's been playing games with us for the last couple of days. So we'll get into that next week with them. And then we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to sort of look at the spiritual side of the Halloween season. We have our friend Madame Zulema coming back on to talk about the Day of the Dead and how they celebrate ancestry in the Latino culture. And then we're going to end the month with our good friend Jackie Smith from Coventry Creations, who make those really beautiful Coventry spell candles. And she'll be talking about some of the more Anglo-Saxon, European, British, traditions around Samhain and so forth, and how they celebrate ancestry. So join us for that, especially if you're very interested in all the paganism and witchcraft and so forth. And it should be a lot of fun. So, and while you're on our website, buy us a coffee on Ko-Fi if you can. It helps us with our production costs, and if you can't afford it, we love having you anyway. So, we definitely don't want it to be exclusive, and we enjoy doing the show and bringing it to as many of you as possible. And so, and of course, subscribe to our show. That really helps us a great deal as well. So without taking any more time, I'm going to kick it back to Krista, and I'm really looking forward to the show today. So take it away, Krista.
Great. Thank you, Michael. And welcome, Holly.
Hi. It's so good to be back.
We're so excited to have you back. It's always fun having you here. And I actually even listened to some of the previous interviews, and I love the stories of all these places in general, whether it's you or Craig that's been on the show. And it's fascinating. And there's so many. They're so many.
They're everywhere.
They are. I guess, it's incredible when you think of it. But I thought we should just jump right in because we do have quite a lot to cover. So let's get going. And let's start out with one of the locations you actually spent the night there.
Oh, yes. The Lemp Mansion. So I've heard about the Lemp Mansion for years because of all the suicides that have taken place there. And, 4 family members committed suicide. 3 in the house, the daughter down the street practically, okay? And let's just go on a quick backstory. The Lemp Brewery, they were beer barons. Adam Lemp came here from Germany, and what he did was he made a German lager. Now, that was so unheard of because of St. Louis, Missouri. You had the Anheuser-Busch, you had Pabst beer. He introduced German beer. So what had happened was, everybody loved it. And he ended up, committing suicide. And
it's located, though, so people know that don't know the place. It's located in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes,
Okay.
St. Louis, Missouri, and you can still see the Lemp Brewery. I mean, it's in the 1800s. I mean,
Okay.
it is so old, but the house there, the mansion, still stands. It is a bed and breakfast, and they have like, dinner there. You can rent it out for your wedding. Something I would do. But it's really creepy, and I got it. I stayed the night there, basically by ourselves. No one was there. When they told me that they were basically locking up and leaving, I was kind of shocked. I'm like, what do you mean you're leaving? What? Like, I'm going to be here alone?
And when was this? When did you do this?
This was in the summer, in the end of June. This is just in the end of June. And, 3 of the family members, the males, committed suicide in the house. Billy Lemp shot himself in the front dining room. He sold the factory. Now, think about it. Back in 1800s, the factory was worth $7 million. Prohibition hit, and he sold the factory to a shoe company for $585,000. That was a big loss, you know. And he killed himself in the front room. Then you had the other Charles. He also killed himself. William Lent committed suicide after his son died very young, and his best friend, Frederick Pabst from Pabst Brewing, he died, and he did the self-inflicted gunshot wound. Second story. 1 year later, his wife succumbed to cancer in the same room.
Oh, wow.
And the last one, he shot his dog and then shot himself. Why shoot the dog? It's like, why shoot the dog? Why did he do that? But he did do that. And it went on that their legacy, the last Lemp lived there till he was 90 years old.
Yeah, there was one that lived a long life, right?
Yeah.
Edwin, I think his name.
Yes, Edwin. That was Billy's son. And upon his death, he wanted every luxury item, family heirloom destroyed to, I guess, do away with the curse. And when I stayed there was on the second floor a very long hallway with a huge, it looked like a bank door. There was something about this hallway that it freaked me out. I was scared, and I walked around this all by myself, on live. And they told me at dinner that night that that's where he had kept all his art. So maybe he was there guarding it, But the one thing that did scare me was in the William Lemp suite. I was walking through there completely alone, and I heard what sounded like a gun click. It sounded just like it, and it was right next to me. I don't usually hear things like that. I don't, I'm around there, I'm all full of energy, but I actually heard that. That freaked me out. I came downstairs and was like, I know I heard a gun. I know what they sound like, And then later that evening, I was downstairs in the front foyer, and I heard a woman laugh right next to me. And I was kidding around about vacuuming this whole thing that, oh my God, this will take forever to vacuum, or to clean. And I heard a woman laugh. So maybe she thought that was funny, like, ha ha, but it was so distinct, her laugh. And it wasn't mean. It was like she actually almost got a kick out of what I said. So I did hear that in the Lemp Mansion.
Were you able to do any recording while you were there?
Yeah, I was doing Facebook Live. I was walking around, kind of doing EVPs. Nothing really came out. I listened to everything afterwards and nothing. But I was so scared, Krista, that I stayed outside till about 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want to go in there. And we were outside. And when it came to the time that I had to go inside, I slept with the lights on.
I don't blame you.
I really did. I'm such a chicken. I was like, leave the lights on. And another incident happened when I was in the bathroom. I seen sort of like a mist underneath the counter, which they said that an illegitimate child that they considered, he had Downs, and it was Billy Lemp's son, I believe, and he just didn't, want to acknowledge him, and he lived on the third floor his whole life in secrecy. This poor child, so people see him up there all the time. And people leave him things. And I left him, because I'm a 90s teenager, I left him a hacky sack. And I took pictures, I was like, oh, maybe he'll play with this, But I did. I left him things. There's little toys everywhere up there. It's just a really sad, tragic story with this family.
It is. That's a lot of suicide in one family. The one thing I did remember briefly reading about the second William was very decadent, and he had big parties, and his wife always wore lavender. She's called Lavender Lady.
Yes.
So you kind of wonder sometimes if a lifestyle invites in, not for everyone, but maybe for certain personality, invites in certain energies.
He was definitely the one that, he lived this lavish party boy lifestyle, and he bought that. I have pictures of it, this shower from Paris that was completely see-through around it. It's just, he would party down there. Who knows what he was doing, but, we kind of get an idea. But I felt like there was a weird presence in the bathroom down there. When I would use the bathroom in there, it just felt creepy, and his wife left him for that, took their only child, divorced him, and he committed suicide. And, they say he's still there. He was a good looking guy, but he was a playboy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So do you think it's mostly haunted? Do people think it's mostly haunted by that family, or are there any other spirits or ghosts anyone has commented on that you know of?
It was a boarding house for a while, and people did pass away there when they were staying there, when it was a boarding house. You have Zeke, the young boy that was there. I stayed in the Elsa Lemp suite. She was the daughter that after she had gotten divorced, she committed suicide and she returned there. The really fascinating thing about the Elsa suite, it is on the 3rd floor. By the fireplace, it's a wooden floor. You literally pick a piece of the wood floor up, and there are tons of letters from everybody that has stayed in this room.
Oh, wow.
I sat there and I read all these letters and had people of their experiences and what they seen. And I lit a candle. I wasn't supposed to do that. And I put her picture up because I just felt like how sad for her. You know what I mean? Like I always do that when I go into these places. I'm never disrespectful. I'm always like, I feel bad for you. You were young. You were beautiful. You were a socialite. You had all this money. It goes to show you it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I mean, she in the end was so sad she took her life, but that's her room and that's the most haunted place. And that's where I stayed. So all these letters, I mean, we're talking tons of them. It would take you probably a couple days to go through all the little notes that I found.
Oh, that's really touching, actually. I love that idea. Now, did they know why she committed suicide?
I'm just thinking her divorce.
Mm-hmm.
She was so heartbroken. And upon hearing about her death, William did say, that's a limp for you, because that's what they do. So, yeah, that's sad.
Well, it does. Michael, I think, has a question or comment.
Yeah, a couple things real quick. First of all, Holly's got a whole bunch of fans that want to say hi. So for the record, Dirty Old Redneck and Captain Sparrow and Cindy Baca are on here. Sabrina,
Mama Cindy,
all saying hi to you. But our friend Darren, I know you're on your phone, so I don't think you can see the chat. It's probably pretty tiny. But Darren has a question. He wants to know if you believe the entities there are intelligent or residual hauntings.
I want to believe they're residual, especially probably because of the family, because they are reliving. I think that Zeke might be intelligent because of the fact that they say he moves things and he communicates. So Zeke might be intelligent. The Lemp family, they're stuck. I think that they're just playing it over because I heard that gun and I'm telling you, I don't really ever hear stuff. And that was distinct. And that really just even thinking about it gives me chills. That shook me. It was like, oh my gosh, how real is this?
So I think I missed it. Who is Zeke?
Zeke was the 16-year-old boy that was Billy's son that he didn't want to acknowledge. I guess that was a baby from a prostitute.
That was the illegal one.
he had Down syndrome, and they hid him in the attic from everybody. And I feel so bad for him. And that's where people leave the toys.
Okay. Yeah, I just missed the name of it,
Yeah.
of the boy. Yeah, that does sound like a particularly sad and tragic figure, though they all are really when you think about, with suicide
Yes.
and to have
Yes.
that in your family. They must have had some, mental illness genetically predisposed to it.
Right.
To have that much happen.
And then they also say about, concerning suicide that, you're more likely if you know somebody to commit suicide, and you're 10, 100 times more if your parents commit suicide, that you would fall into that same way of thinking to end it like that, So, yeah.
Well, within the paranormal world, I was again, I was listening to some of the two past shows we did with you, and we did spend a fair amount of time on suicide, which I'd forgotten, with George Reeves, and we were talking about
Yes.
that, and that obviously could leave more of a presence when there's a violent death, and it's going to be a
Agreed.
common theme attached to certain locations. And one of the things that in our own life, we have an apartment building behind us, and there were two different men. They lived one above the other that ended up killing themselves at different points. And we were all friends. And it made me feel a little weird because it was they were so close and they knew each other. And the second person that died from suicide knew that this one man had killed himself. And
Right.
it was, you just wonder if it has any influence if you have a predisposition towards certain things, the actual locations.
Yeah.
So is that what you think?
Yeah, I kind of do, and I know I've had friends commit suicide in their lives, and I feel that, yeah. And then I also feel that when people do commit suicide, I don't know if they necessarily want to end their life, but I know that they want to end that pain. And they're in so much pain, they don't know what to do. And either physical pain or mental pain. There's something going on that they can't live with, that they can't get over. And they always say to people that have these thoughts, give it one more night. Give it one more day. Think about it for the night. Go to bed. Try to, and then wake up again and see what you kind of solution. But I think I love Chris Cornell, and he did that to himself. There's so many people that have, and I just think that it's just like on a whim. Usually a lot of them are under the influence too. They're not thinking in their right state of mind. They could regret it at the last minute. And then that happens, with hangings and stuff. And then they're stuck. It's almost like a purgatory, or they're in this realm. Like Mama Cindy, she's watching right now. She's told me, in Catholicism, when you die, you have to walk the plane until the day you're supposed to go, because I guess we're all handed this time when we're born of when we're supposed to go. So when you go earlier than that, sometimes you have to stay and watch everybody around you mourn. It's almost like you get a double whammy with that,
There's definitely different views. And at some point I wanted to look into the different religious, spiritual views about suicide. Like I know in Tibetan Buddhism, I don't know why, but they want you to do everything you can possibly do to prevent a suicide. And they're not into punishment in the same way or karma. And I've always wanted to ask, well, why? But it was one of those things, you should always do as much as you can. And there are people that have actually helped. There's this, I forget where this one man has helped people that he goes to some area where there's a cliff, and he managed to save a lot of lives by just being there and talking to people. And I was so impressed that it worked, because it doesn't obviously always work. And once sometimes someone wants to commit suicide, sometimes they don't say anything, and because they've already made up the decision, which is something I learned later on, that if they're at peace with the decision, they won't say anything.
No, and then there's people like that stay at the Golden Gate Bridge. There's a documentary on that. There's also I'm not sure. I don't want to get this wrong, but there's also like a samurai that they praise suicide, where they gut themselves and they go, and they pull all their intestines out, and they celebrate that, like that's like a martyr type of thing. So it just depends on the religion, and then any way, religion, anything, it's sad. It's horrible. It's tragic to feel that that's the way you have to go out,
Yeah, it is. And I agree with you that sometimes I think it is a last minute, choice that they could regret, especially if they're under the influence. Like it's almost like they would
Right.
regret if they could have. And then there are other times it just seems like they've totally made their mind up. They've just had enough.
Yeah.
And it's a really difficult thing. And as we know, like
Right.
right now under the pandemic, we were talking earlier
Exactly.
before the show
Yeah.
about mental health being an issue right now. And
Yes.
I don't know what the stats are, but I could see, with being just isolated and things like that, it doesn't really help. So we hope
No.
that people, really try to look out for their friends that might have a
Yeah.
predisposition, or if you do, and reach out to other
Yeah.
people. Even Zoom and Skype and phone is something,
Text, check on your strong friends.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer. Check on your strong friends. The ones that are the biggest, toughest people are the ones that are hurting inside because they're putting that up. So yeah, it's sad. And the Lemp family, that house is there. You can go visit it, and it is sad. And there is a heaviness there, and you can tell that it was just, the money, that's what did it. They had to sell it off to that shoe company, and that's the way that they went. So that's the testament of it, their family.
Yeah, and they did very well in the beginning, I think, as a brewery, right?
Yeah. Yes, very well. Very well.
So yeah, it is. It's definitely a tragic thing. I saw your photo on it, and it is a beautiful looking mansion.
Yeah, but it's sinister. I mean, they had some really good steak there. Don't get me wrong, but let me tell you, I'll go back, but I don't know. It really, that was the one place in my whole life that I was like, I don't know about this. This is really freaky. Like there was just something there. And I don't know if it was because I'm, kind of skeptic, kind of believer. Sometimes I don't know until I go into them. They were definitely messing with me, and I knew it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was something there.
So let's talk about the next one we want to talk about today, the Witch's Castle.
Ooh, okay. All right. So you looked into a little bit of the story and how, the backstory is that, there was a coven of witches, sisters. They also say that there was some Indian sisters that lived there. There's rumors that they had tortured a little girl, that they went up there and there was human remains. This is all hearsay. The people that own the property now completely deny it. They say that didn't happen, but they say that the town people did burn down the witch's castle because of the coven of witches there. And it's a really beautiful place. It's right off by the Ohio River. You have to hike into there. It's just a stone structure that has been burned. And then there's like a church off to the right up above. And you do have to climb, and you do have to go over some of these structures. I did it. I went Facebook Live on it. I was like, let's go. You guys are going to come with me. And then there's the story behind it about Shanda Shearer, which is the most tragic, bullying little girl, mean girl story attached to it. And you know about that one.
But the audience might not. So
we're going to tell you. Shanda Shearer was born on June 6, 1979 in Kentucky. She was all around a good girl. I mean, cheerleader, volleyball, softball, basketball. She was all these things. She was beautiful, too. She was only 12 years old. Now, she got involved with mean girls, bad girls. Actually, a 15-year-old girl named Amanda who was sending her letters, and they became a kind of an affair. I mean, it was like a little relationship. Well, Amanda had a girlfriend named Melinda Lovelace, and Melinda Lovelace became very jealous of Shanda. And Shanda basically just lived her life. She was like, yeah, I'm seeing this girl. And they went to a dance, and it was so in Melinda's face that Melinda started plotting to kill Shanda. I mean, she actually went around talking about this every day. I'm going to kill Shanda. It went as far as these 4 girls, the other 3, they all got together in a car. They drove over to Shanda's house. It was late at night. They told her, come on, let's, come with us. That girl, Melinda, was hiding in the back seat. They said, go get her out of the house. She said, I can't go yet. Can you come back at midnight? And they were, Melinda was really mad, but went back at midnight, and they got poor Shanda out of the house. And put a knife to her throat, got her in the car and said, we're going to drive you up to the witch's castle. And, they said that the story they were telling her, this girl, Lori, I don't want to say their names. I don't want to give them notoriety, little witches, because I just want to talk about this poor young girl that this happened to. And they drove her up there and they told her, that she's going to be part of the human remains up there. They went so far as take her Mickey Mouse watch. She's a 12-year-old girl playing the Mickey Mouse tune, started giving away her rings to the girls, and, we're going to take all your jewelry. And they lit a fire up there at the witch's castle. Now, it is called Mistletoe Falls, and it is very high up. And anybody that drives through during the winter, now this was like January 10th, so this is the sticks at this point. There's no coverage, no foliage. You can I went during the summer where it's like full of leaves. You can't see it from the road, but in the winter, you probably can't. So they lit this fire and they got so paranoid that they were like, let's get her out of here. So, this poor girl was crying and saying, I'll never talk to Amanda again. I'll never do any of this. I feel so bad for this little girl. They drove her 50 miles and they basically tortured this little girl and they killed her. But they did take her to the witch's castle. And there's a lot of rumors that she was killed there, but she was not killed there. She was killed 50 miles north. And they tortured her. They actually went as far as to put her in the trunk. She was trying to, make noise and screaming, and they would pull over and they'd hit her with tire irons. She was soaking blood, and it got so bad that what they did was they went to a gas station. They got a 2-liter of like a Pepsi. They put it out. They put gasoline, and they burned this little girl. And that's so sad, that all these things happened. They were all put in jail, all the girls. There was like 2 15-year-olds, one 16, one 17-year-old. Poor Shanda was only 12 years old, and they were bullying. They did these things to her, and the girls were so excited afterwards. They went to eat at a McDonald's. Horrible story. They say that she still haunts Mistletoe Falls, the witch's castle. They say she's there. People say they see her. I want to hope that she went on to heaven. I don't want to believe that she is stuck, But that's a real sad story tied to that place,
And where is the exact location of it?
Utica, Indiana. Yeah.
It's interesting that both locations were near rivers. I'm wondering when obviously you'd have to do a whole look at all of them, but it seems like either hills or rivers. I always feel like water is conducive to anything paranormal, like seeing ghosts or things like that.
The current, the energy, all these things. Yeah, the witch's castle. Now this is the weird thing. My experience. Okay, when I went up there. I'm afraid of heights, and I had to cross over to get to the actual structure of the stone house that they said was their church. It's supposed to be like a holy place. Now, I took a picture in this place. It's actually my Facebook profile picture. For 1 month, nothing was shown on this picture. And a couple weeks ago, I went to go look at it, and there is a face that is directly behind me. It looks like Zozo. It looks like the face from The Exorcist, that's scary. Mm-hmm. But you can clearly see like a face, a skeletal face. And it was not there when I first took the picture. Also, the pictures in the little structure, they've all pixelated since then, which I don't understand that. That's on my phone.
That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't. And I will post those, but half of them are pixelated where they look all pink and purple. I have them on my phone. I don't understand that. I've showed a couple fellow, ghost enthusiastic hunters, and they said that person was checking me out as much as I was checking him out. But that was scary. That face is right there. You can see, you can like blow up the picture and it looks like a skeleton. So yeah, just really creepy. Just,
that pixelation is really, and I've never heard of that phenomena with ghost photography. So I guess there's always sort of new things happening. And I have heard of like a picture of the image appearing later. It's not seems to be one of the things that makes people feel there's really something going on.
Right. And at the time it was in the daytime, because I do want to go back there at night. Don't get me wrong. But like as a rule, to some of these places that are like abandoned and, off the road or whatever, I like to go into the daytime. I want to know what I'm getting into. I want to look. I don't want to fall and break my ankle out in Utica, Indiana. God forbid. You know what I mean? And so that's why I go in the daytime, and I go and I explore all these places. And then, like I do want to go back in the winter time so I can see what it looks like when all the foliage is gone, when it's just the sticks in the woods, and it gets really cold, and it, I'm not sure if it snows right there, but I do want to see that this winter time again, go back there, because it is creepy. And the Shanda story is so tragic. And I just feel so bad being a teenage girl once in my life. Like me and you, Krista, we've talked about being bullied,
Yeah.
and that is the worst case scenario that could ever happen to somebody that is bullied, that they can murder you in cold blood, these girls, and just the fact that they took her there and they started the torture of her, it scared me. Now, I didn't know that. When I went up there, I started looking into this afterwards, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is really tragic,
It is the whole torture too, and then the way they burned her. I mean, it's just hard to believe when humans do that to anyone, especially they're all still so young.
That is what, that was the whole thing in the town at the time when all of this happened. They were saying, there's Satan worshipers. They were trying to do anything that they could. What could they blame it on? Right. Why these young girls would do something like this? You know why? Because they were jealous. They were all had, what's sad is they all came from like broken homes, and they all had, very sad, fatherly figures that molested them. All these things played factors in all of this with these girls, self-mutilation, you can look up the story. It's out there. Poor Shanda Shearer, rest in peace. But just to know that took place there at the witch's castle freaks me out, Yeah. But the fact that skeleton is right behind me in that picture, that was like, whoa, what's there? What is really there? What's going on?
Yeah, I think I saw that picture when you put it up on Facebook. That's one of the ones I do remember. And I was really I wanted to go see the witch's castle. For some reason, it kind of struck a chord in me. I was like, oh, I want to go visit it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know the other legend connected to the Welsh prince?
No, please tell me about the Welsh prince.
Well, it's probably not historically right, but there is a legend that there was Prince Madoc, who was a Welsh prince, was thought to have reached America in the 1100s. And historians don't believe it, but one of the owners that bought the property in the 40s believed it. And he built this like castle, a church. And then that was like a tugboat. And so
that's where my picture's at. That's my picture's at.
That's what he actually built. He was drawn to that legend, and so he built a stone chapel, and I guess it was really pretty, and then someone destroyed a lot of it, So, but as I said, I thought it was just interesting. And then evidently it was supposed to, was this the place? Let me make sure I got that right. That was the place. No, that was a different one. Okay. But anyway, I thought that was interesting because of the mistletoe, and that's kind of a magical, I don't know much about its properties, that there would be this like idea that there was a Welsh prince that had come here before Christopher Columbus, as many people believe there have been other people here before Columbus. Right. But they weren't really sure if that was if he landed there or not. That was one of the things. But thought it was kind of a cool legend. I kind of liked that part.
Yeah, there. The witch's castle. Go out there if you could go there. I would recommend going in the daytime because it is such, a fallen structure. It's not. It's so spaced out too. When you go into it, it's literally like a portal looking like of the leaves that you go through. And to the left, there was like it's like an underground type of structure where they would keep their food at, because obviously there was no refrigeration, and that's what some of the things, the history that said there's like bars on the windows. You could imagine, there was like a fireplace there. You could imagine them having like their goats and their horses and their agriculture and then living off the land. And then people not understanding that these women are living there. Oh, they're witches, they're going to, because that was such a big thing. Like, oh, you're brewing stuff. You're killing people, that was the automatic with everything. Oh, you're a witch, So that's sad, but it is out there and it is beautiful. I must say that, like, just the property and that little tugboat where I took my picture at, it's something out of this world that it's still there,
Yeah, just from the photograph, it looks kind of fairy-like. There's definitely has that kind
Great,
of feeling.
yeah.
So even though you have that horrible tragedy, there does seem to be also some other energy there from the photograph. You can see.
Yeah.
So has anyone else said anything else that you've read about the anything being haunted there, or anything about the original women? Has anyone seen anything connected to them there?
They say that a woman in white with long black hair, they see her all the time up there. They say they see mists of light up there, and this is at night. Now, I went in the daytime, and then lo and behold, I get this creepy picture, of this guy. So it's not always like in the nighttime, but they say they see these, women there, and they say they see Shanda there, and they say it is haunted. And when I usually go to these places, that's usually the backstory, that there is some phenomena happening there, unexplained. So yeah, it's just neat. Like I said, I'm gonna go back. If you ever get out there, definitely hop on the side of the road, get out of the car, and go walk up there. And I didn't get ticks on me, so that's a great thing. I'm always scared of bugs. Like I'm always like, what's on me? But I didn't get ticks on me that time. So yeah.
So when you decide to go to a place, do you have kind of just an intuition that this is a good time for you, or what is your method of picking a place to go to?
Look it up, get in the car, and go. I don't have it's like, what? It's like, okay, how many miles am I from this haunted place? Okay, let's catch that place, and then we'll make our way to the other one. I just don't like to backtrack. If I can go to a couple places on my way, that's what I enjoy doing. It's like, okay, that's here, that's there, let's go to that. When I went to the old Bryce in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I had found it that morning and was watching all the YouTube videos in my hotel room and was like, okay, let's go to it. These kids are saying if you go at night, you'll get caught. But if you go early in the morning, I'm not going to get, a ticket because I'm not young. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell the cops, hi, I'm Holly's from Holly's Haunts. I'm taking pictures. Want to go with me? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to tell them like that. Like, hey, I'm not here to spray paint, destroy, do anything. I just want to document it real quick. And that's like my thing. And being raised in Southern California and Los Angeles, we don't have these things. People don't just leave buildings to rot on their own. They're always making way for the next, take away paradise and put up a parking lot. That's the LA way. It really sucks, actually. And they're doing that to all the old structures in Hollywood right now. They're just tearing them down. Yeah. So the more you look up some of these places, I look up, abandoned places, I find them. And I just go and then I read about them kind of afterwards. Just take pictures and get out. Get in, get out. Don't get a ticket. Don't get a ticket. Don't get in trouble. Don't bring that home. Just go and usually I do it in the daytime. Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I think we talked about that before with safety, and then also just safety in terms of, like you said, if it's abandoned or derelict, you might just trip on something, and hurt yourself in a normal way. You don't want to do that.
I'm clumsy. I'm super clumsy. So I'm going to be that one that walks on that nail. So that's why I'm kind of like with Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I literally just shot the structure and it was collapsed. It was trashed. I've never seen something with so many, the walls were coming down, and I caught those two phantoms. And it was that quick, and it was 9 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't like it was like the witching hour, 2 to 3. It was 9 in the thing, you know?
Yeah,
And
spirits are around all the time. I totally agree with
are.
you. Michael has another question or comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, our friend Darian wants to know if that's a skull on the table behind you and what his name is, if it is.
Oh my God, you want to see Fred? Hold on.
Good eye.
This is Fred. So I've had Fred since I was around 11 years old. My grandmother bought him for me at a thrift store. He's a bowling ball.
He's a bowling ball.
Fred's been through a lot. Poor Fred. Yeah, Fred's cracked. Fred's been at parties. We usually stick a cigarette in his mouth. Fred's awesome. Yeah, he's been around for a long time. He's a bowling ball. That's
Oh my
Isn't that
goodness.
neat?
That is really neat.
He used to glow in the dark when I was, young preteen, but I mean, now he's, I don't know. He's just here. That's Fred. Yes.
Wow. Well, welcome, Fred.
Yeah. Fred's here. Yeah.
I love it. I've never heard of a bowling ball skull, so that's the first for me.
Isn't that neat though?
Yes.
And I got him at a thrift store.
Yeah.
And my grandma, God rest her soul, she was always like, okay, Holly. I'm like, I have to have him. Okay.
That's cool. Your grandma went along with that, though.
Oh yeah, nothing surprised her with me. I mean, I always liked all this stuff, so she was into it. She was cool with it. Yeah.
Not that's not always true in families. So especially when you're young, they want they might say, "Oh, she's into creepy things," and that's great that she really supported you in that.
I never grew out of it. You know how they're like, "Oh, she's gonna grow out of it." It wasn't a phase, Mom. We never grow out of it. You know what I mean?
No, I think if you're interested in at such a young age, it's part of what you're interested in. Absolutely, whatever it is you're drawn to, especially by the time you're 11, you've formed a lot of your personality.
Well, yeah, and I've always wanted to think, because I went to Christian school, like I've talked about before, and I was raised on the Firestone, Britain, we're all gonna die. You're all sinners, And in the end, it's like, you get older, you question all these things, and you want to know. And I've loved haunted houses. I'm writing the book still. COVID happened. Zoom happened. Teenagers who are in Zoom happened for me. So I haven't done a lot of writing my book because I'm like, get to work, type of thing. But the book will still, happen. But it's just, it is a process. Still got to work. Still got to do all these things. Still got to make money. Still got to, be the mom. So that's that. Yeah.
Totally understandable. Yeah, it's definitely had to shift our priorities. So did that answer your question, Michael?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's go on to the next one is the McPike Haunted Mansion, Alton, Illinois.
I love McPike. If I could ever buy a place, it would be McPike. Sharon owns it. She's such a lovely woman. I think because COVID hit, she's not letting a lot of people there, but they are still doing certain things there. And that's got 150 years worth of history. Mr. McPike, he was involved in politics in Alton, Illinois, and he was actually good friends with Abraham Lincoln and was with him when he got the telegram informing him of his election to presidency. Mr. McPike was, part of local politics. Alton, Illinois is haunted. It's the smallest little haunted town if you're ever in that area. It's only about 40 minutes from the Lemp Mansion. You're literally St. Louis, Missouri. You cross right over into Illinois. So it's right there. It's 3 stories. It was built in 1871. Lots of different type of phenomenon goes there. All the shows have been there. There's a grave on the property, but that's with all these structures in the 1800s. There's got to be a lot of graves on the properties because they literally sat there dead out and mourned them, and then they buried them on the yard, in their yards, of course. But McPike is just beautiful. I love it. I don't know why I'm so drawn to the McPike Mansion, but I am.
So, Michael, someone have a question or comment again?
Yeah, our friend Joel has a question for Holly, and he wanted to know if there's any tours of the Witch's Castle, because he hasn't been able to find any, or how to go about getting access to the property if you really wanted to go.
Just go. Just go. You have to park down the street. You have to walk to it. You got to be careful. I mean, a lot of what I do is trespassing, and I hate to say that, but I mean, it is. It's not my property. I went up there, I took some pictures, and I got off. I left it the way it was. You know, of course, we never trash anything. We never leave anything. You just go. You can look it up. And you can literally just look that up and go and put on some good hiking boots, wear thick socks so that you don't get, because I imagine there are ticks and animals, but you can just go to it. No, there are no tours. Like I did my own tour. You know what I'm saying? Like I just went up there and looked around, and yeah.
Now the McPike used to have some tours, right? Before the coronavirus?
Yes, and they would, and I believe in October is the time that they have a actual camp out in the front of McPike Mansion where they have a bonfire and they do investigations, and the wine cellar is a vaulted wine cellar. Sharon let me and Eric go in there, which was amazing. She took us in there. We took pictures. We took pictures on the front porch. I don't know how it is now. I mean, we did go in the beginning of COVID, you know, so I don't know if they're still having that in October. They probably will. Mm-hmm. You just got to go. You can go onto the McPike website. You can look that up, and they have that out there.
So what kind of hauntings do people say that happen there, or what did you see that would be connected more to the place that's specific?
The owners, and then she did mention 2 women's names that I'm so sorry I forgot these women's names when I came into the front foyer where there's a stairway. The house you cannot go into the McPike Mansion. I mean, it's inhabitable. You can't live in it. Nobody can be in it right now. I mean, they have put a lot of money into changing the windows and all these things, but when they bought it, I mean, it was just trash. You know, people went in there, took apart what they wanted, took apart like the staircase, did all these things to it, and then she's just been like slowly putting her money into it. But that's, I mean, I don't know. I would love to buy it. Let's start a fund. Let's all pitch in. Let's save McPike, right? But the 2 ladies, she said their names when we walked in, and I was like, hi, you know, I'm just here to take some pictures. I'm not here to, you know, so yeah, it was like that.
So I gathered from one of the websites that she does want to restore it, but I don't know. It seems like it would be a pretty expensive endeavor even now. I mean, it sounds like they've done some, like you just said, some work.
They have, and it would probably cost millions of dollars to restore it to 1871 to the time. And we're talking 3 stories and 16 rooms, you know, and these rooms are huge. They're vaulted. It's just an amazing structure out there. Now, I found
on enjoyillinois.com actually had some really good stuff. I just looked at 2 places, you know, to kind of prep myself. And there was some people believe that there was hauntings before the mansion was built. Did you come across that idea that it was like indigenous spirits and then possibly even a residual from the Underground Railroad stop?
Yes, and they said that did happen on the property, and they were helping people. And this was a place that they were helping people. They weren't keeping them there. So yeah, I mean, all through that area, you think about it, you know, the Civil War came through there. All these young, you know, people died, and then, you know, the fevers, yellow fever, all these things that had happened. You know, we have COVID now, but back then they had all those. Yeah. And all those people died too. So, of course, there's going to be a residual with all of that happening.
There was also this like clip that was really interesting called it was from the show Scariest Places on Earth. Yeah. And they were talking about the basement where all this dust, and they called it dusty plasma. I've never heard that term. Have you? Dusty plasma is where the spirit uses dust to swirl,
Never.
and I was like, okay, that's a new one.
That's a new one. And if you want to make any ghost hunter mad, tell them their orb is dust. They're not going to like that. They're like, that's an orb. That's not dust. That's an orb. And you're like, okay. But yeah, when we were there, it did look, in some of my pictures that I did take, it looked like rain. It looked like little type of thing. And I did sit down there and it was so cold. But of course, it's a basement. It's going to be cold, but it was really cold. And there was kind of some spots that felt kind of weird, but just the structure of McPike is what gets me, how massive it is. And you can just drive up to it and you're like driving on the street. And when you come into it, you're like, wow, this is a real mansion. Yes. It looked like the Haunted Mansion from Disneyland. Like, that's what it kind of like reminds me of, with those big pillars. It's so beautiful.
Another question, Michael.
Yeah, actually, it's more of a comment this time. And I don't know if Holly knows this, if she saw the video or not, but we have a video that Krista took at David Oman's place. And it's all kinds of orbs and things swirling around in it. But the interesting thing, it was taken in natural light, not at night. So it's full spectrum, but absolute light on, and you can see all these orbs in the picture. It's really phenomenal. And again, that shouldn't happen, because if that happens, then no camera should ever be able to take a picture, because you always have dust moving through them or things. So it's really weird to have it with natural lighting is really unheard of. And maybe we'll post the video on our website at some point.
I think I put it
on
Instagram.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a funny move, too. One just makes this funny zigzag move. And it's funny, all the years I went up to that house, David's house, I'd never tried to catch an orb. I was just, I may as well do it, too. I'm mostly into kind of getting to know paranormal people. And mostly, Michael are just on the side with all this stuff in terms of, the actual technical. So I was kind of excited. And I could understand where some of it does probably look like dust particles, and I think photographers especially can tell. Yeah,
it just depends. Another place I did go to, we're almost at 10 minutes, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. During this time that I went to McPike and Lemp, I also went to Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and that's the huge place over there in Louisville, Kentucky. And I did get some weird orbs and stuff. They say that's the most haunted structure in America. They say all this, I just have to say that I was a little disappointed with my tour guide. That's why I haven't really talked about it, because it wasn't, I wanted to know more about the history of it and the hauntings. And it was all about like her stories. And I wasn't there for her stories. I wanted to know, who died there and what happened there.
Sure.
And she wouldn't let me crawl into the morgue bin, and she was no fun. And I was like, let me get in there. And she was like, no. I'm like, come on. But she did let me stand on the body chute. There was like literally a body chute, because there was so many people that died a day.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. And I stood on top of it, because it was a tuberculosis hospital. And they were having something like 20 something deaths a day with tuberculosis, with the outbreak. So that was one of them. But you can go there and you can see, they say shadow people on one of the halls. I don't know if it's a optical illusion because of the way that the light is coming in, the moonlight coming in from the sides of the doors, because it's a hospital and it's trash, so everything's open. So I don't know what that was, but I did see some weird stuff in there with my own eyes that I was like, is that? Because whenever we see something haunted, ghost, I always second guess it. Did I see that? Am I crazy? What is that? And if I catch it on film, of course, we're going to watch it a million times to see what it is.
I agree. And I've gotten less like that. So when we heard this thump connected to this haunted doll the other night, I actually accepted it right away, because I knew there was nothing we had, sort of tossed aside that made that sound. But at the same time, I still looked afterwards. But what I do sometimes now is I just sort of say, well, I'm not sure what happened or why. It could be that, or it could be some other supernatural phenomena. So that's the one thing I still stay very open to. Even if you see a spirit, is this a spirit? Is it a parallel reality? Is it residual? I know it's something now, though. I have fully embraced the concept that there are different realms interacting with our realm, and it's our ego that
Correct.
struggles with that, because who knows why the ego is like that. It is. It's like, so maybe I've gotten older and I've just accepted, and I know I don't have explanations sometimes, you know?
No, I never do really. And like I seen that Civil War soldier, the full body apparition, that took me back, because I was like, you know, you always want to, am I crazy? Am I seeing this because, am I hallucinating? We're told that these things don't exist. So when we do see them, we're like, wait a minute, wow, and that's where it's at, and when you do get, it's like a blip in the matrix, almost like, and you get to experience that, it makes you want to keep doing it. It makes you want to keep chasing it, looking for it, and like, what's the next place? What's the next place? Where's the next structure? And that's why I like to get on the plane and go back east, because I've done a lot of the Hollywood stuff. I've done a lot of, I want to stay at the Roosevelt again. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, back there, the structures are left to rot. To, like we were saying right before, what are the ghosts doing during COVID? Are they bored? Do they miss us too? Are they like, where are you guys? You guys aren't checking us out. Like, are they getting restless? You know what I mean? Are the ghosts, the spirits, kind of manifesting more during this time? Are they kicking back and like not even, what is that realm experiencing too? Well, I think about that.
You look at the parallel with the Spanish flu, the period of the Spanish flu, and the rise of spiritualism during that time. I would think there can be a heightened connection to the other world right now because of the pandemic, and also the the way history loops itself over and over, and we have some of the same themes and lessons. And too bad they don't have Zoom, the spirits. We could just have
awesome.
Zoom conferences.
Exactly. Call me. I love to chat. Pretty much. And I mean, I'm never going to stop doing this. I'm going to keep going. There's a couple places, I'm supposed to go to this Air Force base that's abandoned this Thursday night with some of my coworkers. I'm going to go check that out. I don't know. It just never ends. There's just so many places out there that we can like go to and try to see if they'll let us peek into that realm. Sometimes they let you, sometimes they don't, but it's that chance that you get to catch them, and that there is life after death. We aren't just done. We aren't just close your eyes and it's over. That my grandma could come back and say what's up once in a while. You know what I mean? Like it's like, do they visit us in our dreams? Is that real? Other things, do they move things? Do they leave quarters, dimes, nickels? You always hear those stories too.
Very true. And we're on the same page with you. Now, before we end, I did want to have people know your contact information. So you can follow her on Instagram at holly.lindbloom, Lindblom, and see her pictures are great. I love them. Then you can also go to her website, Holly's Haunts, HOLLYSHAUNTS.com, and then you can see everything there. But you have 2 Facebook pages too, since you do Facebook Live, right?
Yeah, I have the Do You Believe in Ghosts, and that's my sheet ghost. And my sheet ghost is going to be coming around because I like to do that. That's just a little thing, But yeah, Do You Believe in Ghosts?
Yeah, that one's cool. Why did you decide to do the sheet ghost? I love it.
It was a TikTok challenge, and then I just took it where I just would go everywhere and put on my cool glasses and take pictures in all these really cool, creepy places. Yeah, it's fun. I like it. It's fun.
Well, what was the original challenge on TikTok?
It was a song by Jack Stauber called Oklahoma. And what you do is you're like just standing there, and then you put it on, and then you make like these, like you do these fun things with the ghosts. Like, it's not scary. It's supposed to be funny and cute. So
it is actually very cute.
It's entertaining. It's fun. It's like, don't take this shit so serious. We're being cool about it. You know what I mean? It's just really, really fun. Yeah.
And that's a good attitude because, in spite of the fact that some of these places are very creepy, there are beautiful stories associated with places too. And I think we also have to learn to just accept it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly in terms of the paranormal. But, TV shows like to encourage the dark side because, people are interested in it. So it sells
really are.
shows, and it's understandable.
Yeah, it sells. It's scary. It's what it is. And that's why we keep doing it. And it's fun. And yeah, besides the tragedies, and rest in peace to all the victims that we are going and looking, really, like, I am sad when I hear that these horrible things happen, but I'm also fascinated by it.
Absolutely. Of course, who could not be sad by a little 12-year-old girl that is horrifically, unfairly, just brutally murdered? Yeah. Mean Girls. Oh, just the original Mean Girls. So anyway, teenagers. Thank you so much for coming back, and we really enjoy hearing all of your haunted adventures.
Me and Fred.
Yes, and I'm glad I got to meet Fred. Bye, Fred. And so thank you all for your comments and questions. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time as we continue to explore the esoteric and the obscure together. Have a great week.